Welcome to the Intimate Feminine, opening channels to deeper intimacy in love, sex, and relationships. Allow yourself to exhale and sink in as everything inside you becomes beautifully and sensually unfurled.
Welcome, everyone, to the Intimate Feminine. I am Jacqueline, and I am delighted to be joined today again by a beloved woman in my world, a very dear friend, and actually my producer, Arlia Hoffman. Welcome, Arlia.
Hey, Jacqueline, I'm thrilled to be here. This is exciting.
I love having you. I love that we're going to have our second conversation in the Scarlett Lineage series. And remind me, was our first Scarlett Lineage conversation episode 5 or 6? All of a sudden,
It was 5.
It was 5. I thought so. So I find that I'm just quickly scrolling through my social media. Great. I wanted to make sure that you're not echoing back because we are live streaming today. And we are live streaming on a brand new platform, trying everything out, really pushing our edges on this podcast. And I love that.
And we're everywhere right now.
We're everywhere. We're everywhere. So on my channels, we are on my wall. We are on the Intimate Feminine, both on Facebook. You can find this live conversation right now on Jacqueline L. Robinson on YouTube, the Intimate Feminine on YouTube, and the Intimate Femme on Twitter. And Arlia, where are yours coming through?
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and I haven't told you this, but on Twitch as well. So hello, everyone in Twitch world.
Hello, Twitch world.
And even LinkedIn. So hello, everyone, and welcome. We're thrilled.
I love that. I love that. We're expanding the voice of this conversation, which feels right on time. We sort of came around. We knew that you and I would be having another conversation in episode 5, the first installment of the Scarlett Lineage. We spoke about the similarities in our experience, each of us sort of going through this, what we would call a form of spiritual awakening in connection with a masculine presence or a man presence, a spiritual man presence in our world, and how that impacted each of us. So all the details of that are in episode 5. And we sort of left it at the end with our next conversation would begin to speak to the how we got from there to here. You and I have known each other 6 years now. We've walked side by side through many things over those 6 years.
A lot of things.
A lot of things. And in talking about where we wanted to go in sharing with women and the Intimate Feminine audience, podcast audience, where we wanted to go next in the conversation, how to bring through and sort of summarize these years between that pivotal moment when I walked into your women's temple practice. We spent time together, sort of opened what I call Pandora's box, which was really Aphrodite, feminine love, devotional energy. I will never forget those moments, and I know you won't either because we've talked about it, sitting there on this beautiful southern Georgia farm with cotton fields surrounding us, pecan trees in the backyard. And we were going for a writing retreat. And instead, we filled out poster sheet after poster sheet of Aphrodite, love goddess, feminine energies. And we were sure we were going to create a retreat. We were going to deepen in with women. And really what we know now looking back is we opened a portal of initiation, and we have been, each of us individually and at times side by side together, navigating purifying, getting very clear and dropping, I would say, from the sort of disconnected,
Mhm.
ethereal experience of what a love goddess is, and bringing that down, right? The feminine descends. So descending that down into the body, which
Absolutely.
was a whole different reality.
Well,
And
that
you have beautiful insight on this from your own sort of looking back, how it changed for you. I would love for you to share a bit of that, Arlia.
mm, um, it has evolved so beautifully over the years, from from what I felt at the time was this struggle between, um, being true to what was my inner leanings and direction, and also being so drawn to connection and relationship with the masculine. And, and and really struggling to integrate this massive energy of the goddess within me and living it through my life, and so a lot of times that was what we've talked about, the spiritual glamour, the big,
Mm,
um, spiritual practice, the immersion, the just soaking in it, which was beautiful and perfect in its time, um, and and then struggling with the humanity of my relationships and how the goddess played out it through my life and relationships. And over time, mm, we've talked about glamour in one particular aspect, but the glamour of the goddess, just this the the trappings of it fell away, and, it began to deepen into this, walking moment by moment in that energy, but also really grounded and in the world and in all my relationships. And so, come the pandemic,
mm,
uh, there were so many things that changed, but particularly for me, it really just stripped away all the all the trappings of spiritual practice into this moment in my body on this earth with all the challenges of the world changing around us
mm.
was instantly, "What's really real? And are you gonna go escape to a meditation cushion when you have to figure out how to feed your family and how to survive all together in this container that we've been forced into?" Um, it was such a beautiful process, actually. I could feel it as it was happening. I was like, "Ooh,
Mm.
okay, here we are in this moment, in my home, and who am I now in this context? Am I Aphrodite, the priestess of love?" Like, well, okay, yeah, but I also have to figure out how to do all these manage this household, a and I'll tell you, typically, Aphrodite does not wanna manage a household, okay? It's not in her repertoire. I had to access other pieces of me, which was beautiful. It really just I feel like I I am so much more of a full person now, and
Mm.
coming back to where she lives in me, um I told you recently, Aphrodite's fidelity is to herself, first and foremost,
Mm.
and
Mm. It's that
she
virginal kind of energy that you don't
exactly,
typically think of when Aphrodite or Venus or the love goddess comes
exactly.
into your awareness. And yet that you call fidelity to self. I often see it as her energy is right here. She's
Absolutely.
deepening in right here. And that is, I would dare say that that is in the dark energy of Aphrodite. And if you're in the ethers, if you're only
Mm,
in the mystical, ecstatic, goddess, sensual, sexual, lounging on her chaise kind of
mhm.
energies, I dare say you really, my experience, I'm curious if this rang true for you as well, Arlia, really never get down
Mm-mm.
to the essence of her, because all of what I just said is lovely, and yet it's all in the outside world and her
Yeah.
relationship to
You
it.
you don't get to her true power. You really
Her
don't. And
darkness.
her darkness, the fullness of who she is. And so, yeah, in the last several years, I've been, playing in this field of what my life in general calls me to do, asks of me now. And it's been just this really beautiful unfolding of her I incorporating her darkness, her dark side, in the sense that she then becomes a full goddess of creative power,
Mm, mm.
really rooted in real life.
Because you cannot create deeply with your whole being if all of you is out here in the ethers and there's
Mhm.
no grounded essence, life force, energy, earth,
Yeah.
earth. mm, all I could think is earthing,
Mhm.
like literally descending. This is not where we were going to go in our conversation, but what I just even heard was like that fallen angel literally dropping. And I'll say, having witnessed you, for me, it didn't feel as drastic to suddenly be in the pandemic. My world was already kind of twisted and upside down, and I was living in a different way and in a different state after coming back into life with George. But
Mhm.
watching you suddenly grounded, like
Mhm.
literally, when this hit our planet, we were all grounded. Go to your room, do not come out, do not engage other people. And everybody lived that to their own comfort and extent and in their belief system. But we all experienced a little morsel or a gigantic serving of it. And watching you almost like close all the shutters. Like I remember it. And I remember you talking about how present you were with your family, the meals you were cooking, just being at home. You started growing an herb garden. Like I have
Mhm.
shivers down the back of my body. I don't quite have the language, so I'm sending out the energetic tone of how transformative that was for you, and that is for the woman who carries these energies. They have to merge with the earth elements, with the earth itself, with the groundedness that, for me, being in the ethers, I didn't want to come down. I didn't
Oh,
want the
yeah.
discipline. And I know you watched that in me. You being a Capricorn, I talked about that. You have more of the I am grounded, I am focused. And I've always been a little
There was a time I didn't want it either. I can be impulsive and, follow my instincts, and so there were many years I was very undisciplined because
mm,
I didn't want it either. I wanted to live in the moment and be, just go with the wind. Um, and so to really be, uh, pulled into this daily devotion to life as it
mm,
is, was a beautiful opportunity to figure that out. And yeah, it what I discovered is if I could show up and meet the moment with
mm.
all of me, not believing that any of it was separated from each other, then I had so many resources to pull on within myself to create the discipline and the structure necessary for 5 adults to live together in this home, being grounded. And yes, the opportunity to really slow down and get grounded was huge for me. And I know a lot of people experience that. For me, it was life changing.
Hmm.
Um, it reminded me of the practices I knew and the ability to really be present. And many of us know conceptually that being present in this moment with what's right in front of us is where our power is. But that's when I really began to experience it.
In the
And
body, right?
in
In
the
in
body,
in the
right here.
body, in the visceral every day. This one is a little bit in conflict because we're doing this. This one maybe doesn't like this food over here. Even with grown adults, you still have
Absolutely.
all those moving parts of suddenly being in an intimate, also at times it feels confining space together, and you really have to settle in and get clear. And that's as you described it, I can see and sense it. That's a very different dynamic of being present in the now. It's not be present in the now to feel all of the amazing, wonderful downloads and channelings and essences and the expression and the creativity. It's down in the body to feel everything.
Everything. And this is where the discipline and boundaries came in. I
Mm,
realized as I was beginning to create a new relationship with discipline that one of the first pieces was boundaries. Um, because especially in that container, I had to have my own boundaries. I had to remember where I stop when someone else starts, because if they're
mm,
having a meltdown or they're in a totally different space, or I couldn't take that on. It was a new practice of of honoring where I was energetically and having nothing else to do but to figure out, where I was and feel myself and witness others and remember, that dichotomy of we are all one and we are all our own energetic signature, and being really present in that core of my own and holding that. And so, when that happens, when that foundation is laid of really fully present in the body here right now and inhabiting those boundaries, that's when I was able to really sink into some discipline.
mm, mm,
I really got devoted to what was best, what was the most loving choice for me right now.
mm. That's the gold, and that's the question. And for you and I know you've taught on boundaries. I've written and spoken around my language with it. And for you, and this is where I love our syncing energy, the way that the two of us sort of sync together. And for me, when I think of boundaries, I think of, okay, this is my space, and this is what I need in my space
Mhm,
for me, not
mhm,
from you, but for me. An example, I'm sitting here with blankets and pillows on the other side of my computer for the sound barrier.
mhm.
My space. I've created my space for this devotion, this discipline to the Intimate Feminine podcast, to our conversation, to the energy we are bringing through, to the love I have for sitting down to be in this space together and do this work. Required that I create the space, set the space. And for in your language and in what you've taught, it's set the boundaries. Both are a mirror of each other. And
Yes,
so here's another beautiful piece of the devotion, which is it's to your own energy.
exactly.
That would be my, if you can hear Kali, that would be Kali on the other side of the door wanting to join in. She always wants to be in the conversation.
Yeah, the div I said loving self-regard, and
Mm.
loving self what is the most loving choice for me was my first definition of discipline, and then it became loving self-regard. And when you make those choices for yourself, such as with Kali, you have chosen you have to close the door, create some sacred, quiet space. There is pushback. There is a reaction, there is a response in the external world, and we're taught to cave to that.
Yes.
We're taught
Yes.
that do not, at least I was taught, don't rock
Mm.
the boat, don't make people upset. You need to, and there's truth in it's important to consider your relationships and people's feelings, of course. But here's the bottom line. The most loving choice for you is the most loving choice for them, even if it doesn't look like it at the time. You cannot be
Yeah.
responsible for their internal dialogue, their internal reaction to what may be happening or what the choices you're making. And I know that you experience that a lot in your relationship. I've done it as well. You have to get so clear in what's true for you, because what else do you have? What else do you have except what's right here? So when you make that very clear decision to, I'm taking care of me, I'm doing the most loving thing for me, not out of ego, not up here in the brain, but down
Mm.
in the soul and the heart, grounded in the body. Um, that that is just an extraordinarily powerful discipline of choosing your truth over and over and over again.
Yes.
I would love to hear your thoughts on how that, yeah, have you experienced that and how you've seen it ripple in your life as you do that?
Yes, and my first encounter with it was as a mama
Mm,
with I think my kids were probably preteens, and I can remember at the time my extended family, my parents and my siblings, we would all gather regularly, and sometimes we would be in conversation. And I remember something that was challenging, don't know what it was now, it was years ago, but somebody in my family, my mom and then siblings also, if it's right for you, it will be right for your children.
mhm,
And that's not to say I can choose for them. That is to say, when we are in any form of intimate relationship, we are not meant to turn our backs on who we are in favor of the other. And that's such a conflict, not only for a mother, that's a conflict for a partner,
yeah.
for a deeply intimate, love, committed relationship. That's a conflict. And this practice of deep self love and devotion, you said it's not up here in the ego. Completely agree. Here's what else I experienced though: the soul, the heart, the womb, the sex, those feminine energies are down in the body
Mhm,
and the feminine descends. So, a part of what happened for you and I is we opened this gorgeous Pandora's box of Aphrodite and love and scarlet energy, that beautiful, deep, rich, blood
mhm,
red pulse of passion flowing. And then we brought it down in the body. And when you bring it down in the body, it will touch every place in you that is not yet open,
oof, yeah,
ready, connected, strong in the core, and able to stand by the disciplined practice. Every
mm,
single place will reveal itself to you, will give you pause, will try to sort of catch your ankle and
mhm,
pull you back in and slow you down. And it's so fascinating we're having this conversation because I'm in the midst of writing a blog post around this as a creative juicy energy. And there's like 5 different threads I could follow right in this moment of this conversation. But the key I'll say is it becomes an awareness, a choice. Yes, I want this. Then the points of the discipline being a mystical path that she, the woman, the feminine, chooses for herself. She will always be in devotion, whether it's conscious or it's not.
Ooh, that is so true. That is so true. It's, choose knowing that that is real. Where do you choose to lay your devotion?
Yeah,
On what altar?
yes. On what altar? On whose altar? And here's another, for me, Venus energy. What are the values
Mm.
that guide you in choosing your discipline? It's in choosing the discipline. It's in animating, activating, moving, taking action in the discipline. That's a big change for me. For me,
Mhm.
it would have been, "Oh, I'll pull the oracle cards. I'll
Mhm.
get the message. I am a potent writer. I would write," except my writing at the time was circular, just sort of cyclical in the
Mm.
same stuff, and somewhere along that spherical path, there has to be a disrupt. The disrupt is the discipline. The discipline to, this is who I am. This is what I want. This is what I love. This is what has value to me. And I'm going to bring it right back around to you, because here's another beauty of watching you. I have literally watched your, not just your energy, not just your work, not just your appearance in terms of how you look and how you dress and your style, your whole physical body, inside and out, is completely different
Yep.
than when you went into this, what you kind of call the pandemic cocoon of being grounded, earthing, of earthing your body and really getting in the body rather than up here looking down at her and selecting what is lovely and what is not. You
Mhm.
got in through your chosen path of discipline. I would love you to speak on that, because to me, watching it, and I know when you speak of it, it's highly potent. It's magical, like magical in the way that back in the day we would sit back and I'm just going to be up here in the realms.
Yeah.
And yet what you have done, I have watched this discipline go ping, 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 boom, 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 like popcorn
Yeah.
around you, in how it has touched every single area of your life, Arlia.
And that's what's so amazing is that it is magic, and it's not the escapist magic. It is
It's not
very
illusion.
real. It's not illusion. Um, so 2 things that you mentioned. One, you were talking about, turning your back and on the relationships in your life, and it reminded me of one of the analogies I use in boundaries is who's sitting in your seat.
Mm,
If you get out of your seat to go tend somebody else's life, which we have to do, but if you leave your seat to go serve their interests, who's sitting in your seat? Who's living
right,
your life? Who's
right.
minding your, like, all of those
It
analogies?
it it feels like this when you say it and when I've seen it in myself. So if I'm right here, it feels like this happens. And
Mhm.
suddenly I'm gone.
Yeah. You're
I'm
gone.
gone. I can't see Jacqueline anymore because I'm looking over there
And we
and
do it
she's
so
empty.
often as women in relationship. We get so and this is a little bunny trail, but we get so wrapped up in whatever is, as we talked about, that spiritual glamour, that allure, that excitement, the shiny, that there's nobody in our seat. And so, but you also mentioned values, and
I saw
values are
you light
actually,
up.
yeah, values are the core of boundaries.
Yes.
You have to know what's important to you to know what you're going to, where your lines are. But that just helps you define who you are and what's important to you. And then you can set boundaries that are real and true and worth defending.
Which means really standing in. It's not
Yes.
a defending as in I have to fight off, although I think
No,
of
there's
Kali and Durga who
sure.
battled the demons,
Well, Kali
and
will absolutely come out if needed. But yes, standing in, that's really you owning your power. And so those are the things that happened for me. I understood I understood that my body is my incarnation. It is the vehicle of my transformation. It's not something to be left, it's something to be inhabited. It
mm,
is in some ways
mm,
the seat of my power because here we are right now. It's just this is what we've got. And so in my transformation, it was really coming home to my body. It was getting really clear about my values and what was important and setting those boundaries and then acting on them,
acting, acting, acting. Like all of
creating action.
yes, yes.
And the first action was so small. It was contacting this woman you had referred to me for a reading on my physical well-being. I had no clue what I was walking into, and the story is on my podcast if you wanna go hear it. But it was a simple choice. I had the feeling that other people would laugh at me. Why would you spend, and it wasn't a lot of money, why would you spend the money to do something so outrageous?
Mm,
But it was what I was felt compelled to do as an act of self-love. I need to change. I want to change. This is hugely important to me. Something needs to give. I want help with this. And I feel
mm.
like she's the person who can help me. And that was the first decision. And so then I get all this information, and my family's like, "Are you really gonna let her tell you what to eat?"
Well, because then it affects everybody, right? It touches
It
everybody.
does. And I said, "This person has no vested interest in what I eat." She told me what my body was saying. She helped me get in touch with what my body wants. And if this is what my body wants, this is what I'm doing. No one else has to change anything they wanna do because of my choice, and that was a huge piece, because it
Mm,
does impact the people around me, so I do have to be mindful of that, but they don't have to change what they're doing for me if they don't want to. I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself, and I think that's where things get so sticky for everybody.
mm, mm.
And I was saying this to someone recently. If you make a decision to change the way you live in a way that is not conducive or aligned with the mainstream and everybody else, be prepared to hold your boundaries. You have to have I liken it to going to grad school. You're not going to get a PhD just for the letters. Most people just it requires this extreme discipline and devotion to that that degree.
That discipline, right?
It does,
You
it
said it
does.
requires discipline, and it is a discipline on its own. It is the chosen
Absolutely.
path
You
to
you
which
have
you are devoted.
you have to know why you're doing that and be able to come back to it in those hard moments. And so that is the root of discipline. For me, I have never looked back. It has transformed not just my body, but, you are what you eat. It's changed the way I think. It has doubled, tripled, exponentially improved my energy, my attitude, and and I immersed myself in whatever the work I was doing at the time, which still continues, which is now, podcast producing, because it was the opportunity at hand and it was what spoke to me, and I took a leap of faith. So, and I decided, I just made a choice. I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to pour my energy and my devotion into, the 2 or 3 paths I chose a couple of years ago. And, um, I have arrived.
Yes, you have.
I have
Like, I've
arrived.
watched you.
I have arrived in my body to be doing whatever the hell my soul tells me, whatever aligns and lights me up. If it's not, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And I have struggled with that for years. The justifications and the external needs. Okay, great. There are times that we have to wrestle with that. And I don't know. I mean, it is magical, because I can't say this one thing changed everything. All I can say is me showing up for myself,
Mm.
no matter what, has made the difference. And it is not easy if you are looking at the external world and saying, "What are they gonna think?" Mm-mm.
You won't make it.
It won't make it. You will not. Someone told me yesterday, "Well, I've been told I can only eat this and this, and that just doesn't seem practical." I'm like, you're always making the choice. Always making the choice. I can't quit smoking. It's just too hard. There's your choice. And there are moments. One last thing. There are moments we come to like that, and there are moments we're not ready, and that's
Yes.
okay. That's the other choice, is like, okay, I'm not ready for that yet. Okay, what am I ready for? What can I be devoted to?
That's the question. That's the question, because what we're talking about isn't go take the great big jump off the end of the
No,
cliff.
no,
You
it's
didn't do that. You
no.
started with one thing. You
Mhm,
added in the next one. You listened for the next one until you've got this discipline of how you are with your physical body, with the food you put in it, with the way that you move it. And you you are such a beautiful example, like crystal clear. There are many examples out there. I certainly could give my own, but you're right here. And your chosen moments of action,
mhm.
small at the
Yep,
time.
very small.
Have the reading, change your food. You developed this whole nutritional, whole being woman wellness body of work.
Mhm,
You had the energy to do the producing and the supportive work that then began to grow into a podcast producer and the creation of your own company and bringing clients in. And I remember you even probably the last thing I watched happen for you is this was a few months ago when you said, but I can't see how the spiritual and the physical come together. And I'm not ready to let go of this. Like you still had this devotion to the world of feminine, different kind of embodiment
mhm.
through her spiritual devotion.
Yes.
And suddenly you continue down your path of your chosen discipline. Suddenly the circuit board of your being lights up, and here's the connector. Here it is, Arlia. This is how the two marry.
Yeah.
Your go. Yes,
Yeah, I
go.
was like, "Oh, yeah,"
I
because
know. Woo,
it was a huge moment, because I was literally looking on a piece of paper. There's this part of me and there's this part of me. Why do they feel bifurcated? And the switch inside me is, what if they aren't?
right. Yes. I
It's
remember the
it's
conversation.
it's
What if
it's
they
about
aren't?
it's about questioning your beliefs. What if this is possible? If this is possible, what would that look like? And so that's also a huge piece. Like,
Yeah.
there are so many beliefs that we are devoted to those beliefs.
Unconsciously. We
Oh,
don't even
absolutely.
always know it.
Absolutely unconsciously. And so it becomes a matter of questioning those beliefs. If that weren't true, could this be true? And that was and I think my physical transformation has changed my energy and my thought life to
Mm,
make that kind of shift possible.
yes.
I wasn't
Yes.
in the ruts. I wasn't in the ruts of my former way of thinking and being and living and doing. So I was able to think about something else that's possible. What else is possible? And every time I take that leap of, oh, oh, maybe this is possible, the door's open.
Yes.
And then the task is, you gonna walk through that door?
Yeah, the
Or are you just
action.
gonna sit back and look at, "Oh, that's a lovely door."
I don't know, I'm kind of
Not
nervous
not
about
for
it.
me, not for me, that's too hard.
Doesn't look the way I thought it would because the
Oh,
the the
yeah.
coming together of your physical reality and that spiritual world that you had created and cultivated and loved and been devoted to and lived in, now coming together does not look the way that when you
Mm-mm,
said, "I don't know, I have this spiritual piece I'm not ready to let go." You didn't have to let
mm-mm,
go of it really, but you also did have to let go of
absolutely.
it. You had to let go of what it had been, whether
Mhm.
or not it was even going to be part of your current body of work, and what it was going to look like, what it was going to ask of you, how the world would see it. Like, that's the dissension. It's not just go down there and get deep in the body and be in those sexual creative juices and it's so mwah.
Or
It's
the messy
that.
emotions. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
it's not all about that. That's just a piece of it.
Yeah.
Um, I had something. I had something as
It
you were
would look the
talking.
way you think it does. It was it that?
Yes.
Yep.
One of the pieces of wisdom that came to me recently was, if you have decided how it's going to look, the universe can't give you anything else.
I heard you're fucked.
You're fucked.
Yeah.
You have decided how it's gonna look, so then what options do the universe have except to hit you upside the head with a 2 by 4 and say, "There are other options." You know, it's you can't see those opening doors if you are staring at the corner.
Well, and you saying if you've decided how it's going to look, like when I saw that visually, the door's not even open. It's more of just banging the head
Against the
against the
wall.
door. I don't know why it's not working. And
Yeah. "Open this door."
yes, yes. And for me, I so like I don't have time to tell you all of the reasons why, but you know me well enough, and people who are listening, trust me, this is such a perfectly dropped in conversation because I have been living pieces of this in a new place in my world for the last week. Like the intense emotions, the what's the action to take? Can you open the door, please? I can't get in. And the meltdown. And then
Yeah.
finally seeing another door open where there's kind of a little bit of a, there's another door after that, and a door, and a door, and a
Ooh.
door, and a door, and a door. And suddenly you said, I have arrived. That's the sensation. My language, holy fuck. Ah, here it is. Everything lights up in this internal
Yes.
core circuit board. I was so resistant for so many years to anything that didn't sound feminine or feel
Mm.
feminine or look feminine. I didn't want the grounding. I abhorred the word discipline, as I
Oh, so
think
many people do because
many
it
do.
has so
Yeah.
many bad connotations.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have lived the shadow side of the discipline. So I know we're sort of wrapping up. You and I, of course, we can have very lengthy conversations about things, and we have more conversation in us about this. And we will continue the Scarlett Lineage series conversations, I imagine, into next season. I want to kind of bring it full circle. And I had a thought that I just lost, and it doesn't matter. But So we are going to continue deepening in, you and I, and we have decided that we would love to invite other women to join us in that, and we are going to be offering, with you and I both,
Mhm.
a one-time experience, which is disciplined devotion. We're going to deepen more into these energetics. I just had my thought back. Part of that will be talking about the darkness of the void, the
Mm,
chaos that it erupts, the
yes.
dark feminine, how Kali is a part of this. There are so many threads and pieces.
Mhm.
So I would love for you to go ahead and share what it is that we're bringing through, the details if you have it all right there, and then we'll close from there.
Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited for us to present something together.
Mm,
There's so much potent energy that comes up when we're together. So, I love this. We're just gonna make it a small container of 1 day for 3 hours, both of us teaching and bringing forth all of the pieces that we have around this. And for me, that will be talking about boundaries, talking about your physical wellness and how that may look, not just the discipline, but devotion to your own
mm,
health and what that looks like and for you because it's
yes.
different for everybody.
And the
And then
pleasure of the devotion. I want to
oh,
drop that in, that
yeah.
even though there's discipline, this energy body we are talking about, discipline into devotion, it's not arduous. It's
No.
not burnout and forcing, and I just gotta get it done. It's not that kind of energetic. It's
Yeah,
this
you can't do it
beautiful,
through alone. And that's that I'm so glad you brought that up because there is a deep joy and a deep pleasure in the results and the process of being that devoted to yourself that I can't even articulate. And
mm,
from the
mm,
outside, eh, I think from the outside, what you see as success or reaching goals, that's actually the pleasure. It's like the pleasure of the process of just being so me
yes,
and being true
yes,
to just being me. That's the payoff. And
yes.
that's the pleasure that keeps me going. So, yeah, it's the discipline is just like one small piece of those actual things that have to happen of of this wellspring of joy that comes from being
Mm, mm.
so rooted and grounded in myself and understanding and knowing myself and being devoted to her.
Yes.
I
Yes.
I can't even like I said, I can't put words to the joy that comes from that. So, that's
And the
what's
benefits in
available.
your life.
Oh, yeah, and the benefits are like the icing on the cake, right? So,
Yes.
it all it feeds itself, and so, you know, a class on devotion to discipline is not, buckle your seatbelt, let's bootstrap this, you're gonna do it, you're gonna mindset, all of that stuff that is it doesn't work without that inner wellspring.
Right. That's right. That's right. So we are going to do this when, Arlia?
November 4th, that's a Friday from 1 to 3 Eastern. We're also gonna cover, this immersion into self-love, this partnership with life. Jacqueline's gonna talk about that. How you find your why, how you find the pieces that will really sustain you and motivate you to become this fuller, deeper part of yourself. What happens when we have resistance? We've had a lot of resistance.
Six
And
years. 6 years,
woo,
Arlia. We've been through this 6 year pathway to come fully out where we are.
and how many times have we said, "I don't wanna?"
Oh, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's happening.
And really being able to access the truth of what is.
Yes.
Accessing the truth of what is, and then finding our growth edges, which is the place where all the magic happens.
And it is happening. It is alive, wildly alive.
I know
So,
anybody who has worked with you just knows the magic you bring in creating the feminine container and accessing this intuitive flow that comes through you, comes through both of us. But I love the way
mm,
that we balance and complement each other.
I do too. I do too. And I have missed in the lull of where our lives have taken us. For a while, we were creating feminine temples and retreats and different things in different ways. And I have missed that. So I'm excited as well for us to deepen in as the women that we are now. I love that. So, discipline devotion, it's going to be Friday, November 4th. It is 3 hours. So, I believe rather than 1 to 3, it's 12 to 3.
Oh, thank you. That would
I
be
think we
lovely.
adjusted that as we went along. It's $333. And we haven't set up any registration page or anything. So you can
Mhm.
either private message me. Do you want everything to come to me, Arlia, or do you want either one of us? Do you have a
Either
preference?
either one of us.
Yeah,
But yeah, this is the intimate feminine. So we're this is our joint program. But yeah, absolutely. Contact Jacqueline, reach out on her website, on social media, wherever you can find her, and we will, or me, and we will make sure you are on the list.
we will. We will. We are excited isn't even the word. We are fully online, on board. Embodied is what came to mind, and it's a very different embodiment
Mm.
of discipline, of devotion, and of being a feminine woman. Arlia Hoffman, I love you. Please also share with anybody watching or listening, because we are live streaming today, which is fabulous, where they can connect with you, a little bit about what your current body of work is, should they want to enter into your world.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, well, you can find me on Facebook as Arlia Hoffman, LinkedIn, Instagram, also as the Women's Sanctuary. That's my podcast. Wherever you can find wherever you find your podcast, and on social media. I've also, because of my own transformation, I have begun Radiant Woman Wellness for women
Mm,
wanting that type of experience to transform and really grow into their full self and vibrancy. And I produce beautiful podcasts like this one for women who have something to say. My calling is to get women behind the microphone.
mm, mm. I love that. And in all of, like, there's so many things going through my mind to say, in all of those places that you just mentioned, witnessing your deepening into creation, into devotion, and the strength of your discipline to it, and the birthing that has come from
Mm,
that really is truly you. And neither of us, if you talked to us a year ago, would have
mm.
said, "This is what I see coming for
No,
you, Arlia."
no.
It's been so delightfully surprising, and watching you in it just lights me up. So, also to any woman who feels drawn, take a moment and visit Arlia's spaces and
Mm,
perhaps listen to her story and just kind of get a sense of it for yourself. What discipline in action can create through devotion in your life. I am Jacqueline. This is the Intimate Feminine Podcast, and I am thrilled to have spent this time with you, Arlia Hoffman. I love you. Thank
I
you.
love you. Thank you.
And that is all. Thank you, my friends, for joining us. And we will see you next time on The Intimate Feminine.
Thank you for sharing this time today. You can find and follow us on all major podcast platforms. We invite you to like, share, and be in touch. Find out more about Jacqueline and her work at JacquelineLRobinson.com. This is The Intimate Feminine, opening channels to deeper intimacy in sex, relationship, and love. This show is produced by Arlia Hoffman.